Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really fascinating question from a listener that sort of sits at the crossroads of biology, history, and even modern dating. The question is, how effective has being extremely smart actually been as an attractive trait for men, across history and even now? Is being a genius really the ultimate aphrodisiac?
It's a classic question, and the sources we've looked at give us a fantastic roadmap. We've pulled from evolutionary psychology, some really deep historical accounts of, philosophers, statesmen, all the big thinkers, yeah. And we've even got recent studies on modern mating markets.
So our mission for this deep dive is to look at not just if intellect is attractive, but I guess how you even show it off.
Exactly. And how does it stack up against, the obvious things like physical appearance or money in the whole game of choosing a partner?
Okay, so what's the initial take from the sources?
Well, the initial framing is that while attraction is, of course, super complex and personal, intelligence seems to be this universally appealing thing.
Because it signals what? Competence?
Competence, exactly. It's a promise of stability, of good problem-solving skills, and at the end of the day, a safer, more prosperous future for a partner and their kids.
All right, let's unpack that, maybe starting way back. How would our ancient ancestors even demonstrate high intelligence in a way that's, attractive? It's not like they were handing out SAT scores around the campfire.
No, exactly. For intelligence to be a trait that gets selected for, it has to lead to something tangible, something you can see.
Right.
Prehistorically, and for most of history, showing off your intellect was all about practical application. It meant you were the person who could find food reliably, build a better shelter, and, keep the group safe.
So the ancient genius wasn't the guy reciting poetry, it was the guy who invented a better spear.
That's it, precisely.
Right.
You were the one who could innovate, who developed, say, an atlaw to throw that spear farther, or designed a better fishing hook, or figured out the basics of agriculture.
You were signaling your intelligence through results.
Yes, through tangible outcomes, provision and protection. That innovation led directly to high social status, control over resources, and that made you an incredibly desirable.
It's the ultimate show, don't tell. Your mind wasn't attractive on its own. It was attractive because of what it could do.
Yes, and that control over resources was the visible historical proof of a sharp mind. Now, if you fast forward to today, the function is basically the same, but how we show it has changed.
Right.
Intelligence now provides for a partner through career success, good financial planning, or even contributions to society. Like a scientist working on renewable energy. It's still about creating better living conditions.
So the key takeaway is that attraction to intellect is and has always been tied to the utility of that intelligence, the promise of providing and protecting.
It had to be beneficial. Otherwise, our giant, energy-hungry brains just wouldn't have been worth the cost.
Okay, so that's the bedrock, the practical stuff. But what comes next? Let's move into part 2, because there must be a more purely cognitive side to this.
There is. And this brings us to what might be the most effective, hard-to-fake signal of high intelligence.
Wit and humor.
Exactly, wit and humor. This is where we get into what's called the Cyrano effect. The theory is that the human brain evolved partly as a courtship ornament.
A courtship ornament, I like that. What does that mean?
Well, think about it. The brain is the most metabolically expensive organ we have. It burns about 20% of your daily calories.
Wow.
Yeah, so to develop and run a brain capable of complex thought is basically this huge, costly advertisement of your genetic quality.
So if you can afford to run that big, expensive engine, you must be a high-quality partner.
Yeah.
And the fastest way to show off that engine's horsepower is through talking.
Absolutely. The most direct way is verbal courtship, dazzling someone with quick wit, telling a complex story using a rich vocabulary. And humor, specifically, is what the sources call an evolutionary enigma.
Why an enigma, and why is it so hard to fake? I mean, anyone can memorize a joke.
But not spontaneous, witty humor. That requires incredibly rapid cognitive processing. You have to connect unrelated ideas, you have to be creative, and you have to do it in real time under social pressure.
Okay, fair point.
If you can consistently be funny, genuinely witty, you're showing off a very fast, very efficient mind. And studies consistently show that women value humor production in men.
The ability to actually make the joke.
Yes, they value that significantly more than men value it in women.
Which brings us to a perfect historical example. Benjamin Franklin. The sources call him the founding flirt, which is amazing.
It is, and they note he was incredibly popular with French aristocratic women when he was in his 70s, even though he was, and I quote, paunchy and balding.
So his appeal was 0% physical.
Pretty much. It was his scientific fame, his incredible wit, and what they called his flirtatious repartee. He was basically trading on his intellectual charm and curiosity. His brain was his currency.
But hold on, couldn't that just be power? I mean, he was an American ambassador. How do we separate the intellect from the status?
That's a great question, and the sources would argue that the status and the power came directly from his intellect. He wasn't an aristocrat. He earned his position through his inventions, his writing, his strategy. His witty conversations were the real-time proof of the mind that got him that status.
Okay, I see. It's not just the title, it's the brain that earned the title.
Exactly, and it wasn't just politicians. Think of Giacomo Casanova. We think of him as just a womanizer, but historical accounts show he was a mathematician, a philosopher, a translator.
That's fascinating. It completely changes the stereotype.
It does. His memoirs suggest his appeal wasn't just about physical conquest. He was actively looking for an intellectual bond. He used what he called seductive storytelling and philosophy as his main tools. He was practicing intellectual courtship.
So this preference for a sharp mind is ancient, even if the word for it is modern. Which brings us to part 3 and the concept of sapiosexuality.
Right, being sexually attracted to intelligence over physical looks.
And we have some classic examples of men who were attractive almost purely because of their intellect or the power it gave them.
The archetypal pairing is Arthur Miller and Marilyn Monroe. He was this serious intellectual playwright, not, conventionally handsome.
No.
But his gravitas and intellect just captivated her. She was actively looking for stability and an intellectual challenge. She knew her beauty was temporary, but his mind offered something lasting.
And then you have the political angle with Henry Kissinger. He's famous for that quote, "Power is the ultimate aphrodisiac."
And the sources really interpret that through the lens of intellect. Kissinger's appeal was his raw cognitive power, his ability to process huge amounts of information, to strategize, to dominate negotiations. It was the genius behind the power that was so attractive.
But it goes both ways. The sources also highlight some incredible female sapiosexuals. Marilyn Monroe herself had a framed photo of Albert Einstein on her piano.
Which is such a powerful cultural signal, right? And this preference often led to real intellectual collaborations. Take Émilie du Châtelet, a brilliant mathematician and physicist. She was drawn to Voltaire's mind, and their relationship became a partnership. They worked together translating Newton's Principia.
So the attraction wasn't just to the person, but to the work they could do together.
Precisely. And you see it again with someone like Lou Andreas Salome, who was an intellectual muse to Nietzsche, Rilke, Freud. She challenged these giants. She wasn't just an admirer, she was a participant.
And you can't talk about this without mentioning Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre. Their whole partnership was basically an intellectual pact.
It was. Their lifelong open relationship was founded on what they called mutual intellectual attraction. The philosophy and the writing came first, before any traditional idea of romance.
We should also mention that little historical footnote about Voltaire and Ninon de L'Enclos.
Oh, right. It's a great little story. When Voltaire was just a boy, she was this brilliant salon hostess, and she was so impressed by his precocity, his child genius mind, that she left him money in her will just for him to buy books.
It wasn't romantic, but it shows that recognition of raw intellectual potential.
Exactly. Just the sheer admiration for a brilliant mind, even in a child.
Okay, so if practicality and wit get them interested, what makes them stay? This seems to be the focus of part 4. The promise of growth. The growth factor.
It is. The sources stress this. Initial attraction is one thing, but long-term satisfaction is often about how that intelligence is used within the partnership.
So somebody who challenges you and helps you grow.
Exactly. That signals a supportive, enriching future. That desire for personal growth is a powerful long-term attractor.
A great example of this is Virginia and Leonard Woolf. He was incredibly smart, but also steady and supportive.
Their relationship was built on a mutual respect for intellectual work. He helped her manage her mental health, of course, but just as importantly, they founded the Hogarth Press together.
Which gave her an outlet.
A structured, intellectual outlet that let her genius flourish. It was intellectual collaboration powered by his practical intelligence support. And this isn't just a Western idea.
Right. You see it in global figures, too.
Look at someone like Nelson Mandela. His strategic mind, his political philosophy, that was a core part of his appeal.
And his later marriage to Graça Machel.
Absolutely. It was a partnership based on shared values, intellectual companionship, a shared vision for building nations, a partnership of equals.
Or even Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. It was volatile, sure, but her unique artistic vision and fierce intelligence were what held him captive, far beyond just physical attraction.
Yes, and in Erokhane, too. Her decisive personality, her political skill, her attraction was directly tied to her political genius. For all these figures, attraction was complex, but it was tied to influence, stability, and that capacity to inspire growth.
Okay, let's bring this all together for part 5 and look at the modern dating market. If intelligence is so valuable, how does it play against the other big one? Physical attraction.
The sources often frame it as a kind of exchange, a trade-off. Physical attraction is a cue for good genes, health, fertility.
Okay.
Intellect signals resource acquisition, problem solving, social status. So you're essentially trading your assets.
So the idea is if you're maybe lacking in the looks department, you'd better have a surplus of smarts or status to balance the scales.
That's the logic of the social exchange model, yeah. People tend to pair up based on a roughly similar overall mate value, even if the individual parts are different.
But then there's the other theory, assortative mating, the likes attract idea.
Right. Which suggests that instead of trading, people just look for partners who are similar to them. Highly intelligent people often seek out other highly intelligent people, regardless of looks or status. Both models really just confirm that smarts are a key asset.
But here's the crucial thing. The sources really hammer home for long-term success. Looks and smarts get you in the door, but it's the core personality traits that matter.
That's the anchor. Consistently, people want warmth, trustworthiness, which is, kindness, empathy, honesty, and conscientiousness, emotional stability,
And shared goals.
above all else. Intelligence is fantastic, but, a brilliant mind paired with low empathy or high instability, that's a recipe for disaster.
So the intellectual spark might start the fire, but it's the kindness and reliability that keep the relationship going.
A vital distinction.
So to sum it all up, demonstrating intelligence, whether through providing resources or through quick wit or the promise of personal growth, is consistently a highly valued trait, especially for long-term partners. The mind is clearly a powerful magnet.
Absolutely. But let's leave you with the modern challenge, because the sources on technology and dating show how the whole landscape has shifted.
Okay, online dating has given us this massive pool of candidates, which sounds great.
But it often leads to what they call choice overload, a fear of missing out. And it pushes us towards being more superficial, prioritizing photos over everything else. And the critical problem the sources point out is that everyone online is curating this ideal, witty, digital persona, a perfectly filtered version of themselves.
So there's a disconnect between the profile and the person.
A huge one. So here's the final thought for you to chew on. If intelligence is most effectively demonstrated through those hard-to-fake signals, like real-time humor and spontaneous, stimulating conversation.
Things that require your brain to work on the spot.
Exactly. How reliably can you actually assess a potential partner's true intellect when all communication is filtered, edited, and delayed behind a screen? Are you filtering for genuine smarts and wit, or are you just filtering for a really well-written profile?
Question of authenticity versus performance. Something to think about.
Definitely.
That's it for this deep dive.